Yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming around. Effectively, I'm just going to say a couple of words about the show, and hopefully that will help unlock some of the more hidden meanings here. All of these heads, they are all casts from a 19th century French ceramic bust of Faustus. So they're all variations on the same head, and the Faustian pact is basically that of a scholar who's unhappy with their life and then enters into a bargain with the devil to improve things and to show, how should one say, just to enjoy life more. Get more out of life, let's put it that way. So, maybe from a more personal perspective, I just really like the French ceramic. When I saw it, I just fell in love with it. It's probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago, the first time that I saw it. And I think you can all agree that he's quite an arresting fellow. There's something about this character that's enigmatic, slightly devilish. I don't know, the original sculptor did a fantastic job of capturing the likeness of a man fated, some tragic comedy of sorts that is life. But anyway, so I don't know why I like the object so much, and that's one of the reasons why I ended up making the show, is because I want to work with the object, I want to discover what the object is and what my own relationship is to this particular object. And that for me is an imaginative journey. So what happens is you begin by making one sculpture. You unlock it, so to speak, or some of its creative potential you unlock by combining it with something else. A deck of cards, things from a medicinal cabinet. And so each one of these become almost something like a self-portrait, an image of myself that is unlocked, but in relation to the original object. So call it a material encounter, and through that material encounter different aspects of myself ultimately come to the fore. And so we have anything ranging from an explorer, a enfant terrible, a politician, the speaker there, a gambler, an author, someone who reads. And of course, there's something deeply Faustian about the whole issue of making art, in as much as let me speak about myself. In as much as I enjoy this base material encounter with the thing. It is a human pleasure. It's about flesh. It's about being in the here and the now in this real material world, which is very far removed away from the world of the heavens, the non-physical. And so the work is highly personal. But maybe coming back to something that Matthew spoke about, the idea of perception, I do think that now, when you walk around, it's sometimes quite difficult to understand that these are in fact the same figures. It's like they've all taken on a personality of their own. And so from a very much artistic perspective, what I would say is one learns to think through sculpture in millimeters, not in meters. The small turn of the head, it has a huge impact to the kind of character that you're dealing with. And as a performance artist, this is something that I pay attention to. I realize that gesture matters, that millimeters matter, that looking up, looking down, the way that your body stands in relation to the artwork has a decided impact on your meaningful interpretation of the work. Your interaction with the artwork is ultimately, for me, the most interesting aspect of the works. And so I would say, please go ahead, look at the works and see how you come into being through the interaction with the work itself. This work, sometimes you'll see there's books. I'm a voracious reader, and so I find small things in books and I underline them and I make something out of them. But this one also, it speaks about labor and the value of labor in art, technology and so on. And those works on the side gallery, they're much closer, or they're much more focused on the idea of labor. So for example, let me think, the far left one, there's a piece called Die Verslag. That was a report that was released in the middle of the 70s by a professor, I forget his first name, Vian. But basically it dealt with labor issues in South Africa and the difference between schooled and unschooled labor forces, economically active people, or groups of people versus those who are completely inactive, economically speaking. But anyway, there was a lot of recommendations made to the apartheid government at that point, ones which they completely ignored. And we still sit with that problem of labor today. And then on the side next to it, there's another piece there, the one with the lanterns, that, I don't know, I think we can all sympathize with the problems that we're currently having with power supply and so on. So there's this kind of return back to lighting things by hand, carrying your little lanterns around and providing your own light, so to speak. And while I was doing research for this piece and finding different typewriters, I chanced upon an old warning letter of someone who had turned up late for work. But somehow there was something very funny about that for me, of not actually, I don't know, in Afrikaans you have this word, pligsversuim, which basically means not doing your bit, if you like. And on the one hand, I felt terribly sorry for this guy who received this letter, but on the other hand, there's the core of our problem there, if you like, is that we have responsibilities and we have to pitch up on time. We have to be there. We have to do our little bit for, not only for ourselves, but for everybody else, because people are dependent on us. Very much like with that tow-in service, you know. Someone else lights the way for you through their conduct, and that's why I also call the piece Code of Conduct. And then the last piece there, that's a piece called Just Self-Portrait. That piece took 2 years to make. I hand cut all the pieces of glass. Every morning I do a piece of, what do you call it, gold leaf. It's 22 karat gold leaf and so on. And it took a long time to build up the money, and it's like a little savings box, if you like. And by the end of it, I really felt like I'd gone through a process with the piece. That the piece had become something of me. Not only through the preciousness of the materials, but also through that kind of repetitive action and labor of imbuing that thing with a sense of value. And I think the ritual and performative aspect is very important. But since I became a father, I have this idea that things are sacred not because they refer to anything else, but they are sacred because so many people before us have done exactly those same things. And we honor their lives by doing this again. And it's always the same, but it's slightly different. And it's the same with these heads. They're always the same, but they're slightly different. They're unlocked in different kind of configurations. But you honor the thing by engaging it and by being part of that longer continuation. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much.